Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be with you today for school assembly, but I hope that the message that I will show via this way of doing it will be a help to everybody. We have a theme today. It's the theme of towers. And we're going to start with a quiz. So I'm going to show you a picture of a famous tower. I'll pause for a moment, and I guess hands will go up. Probably your teacher will be able to get an answer, a correct answer from somebody fairly quickly. So we'll go to the first tower. There it is in London. And I'm quite sure somebody's already spotted that that's Big Ben. Here's another tower in London, less well known. I wonder if somebody spotted what tower that is. It's the Tower of London. In fact, it's 4 towers in one building, a very famous building in the days of history when kings or queens were against the government or against the church. They sometimes ended up in prison in the Tower of London. So it's very famous for that event. It also contains the crown jewels, of course. Let's leave London and, I think we're in Italy. Has somebody spotted that? It's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Let's leave Italy. And of course, we're now in Paris. And I'm sure lots of hands will have gone up. It's the Eiffel Tower. This is a very sad picture. In the background, the Twin Towers, after they'd been attacked by a plane in that terrible disaster when many, many people lost their lives. But in front of the picture is a very famous tower in New York. I'm sure you know it, the Statue of Liberty. All of those are famous towers built with purposes, and some of them built many, many years ago. This is one of the newer ones. It's supposed to be the biggest tower in the world. Somebody may know which country it's in. Yes, it's in Dubai. 820 meters high. That's 2,717 feet high. Probably the largest tower in the world. When you think about it, it's nearly as high as the biggest, highest mountains that we have in the UK. Sometimes people set out to build a tower and they don't always finish it. Jesus talked about that in one of his famous sayings. He said this: suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete it? For if he lays the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule him, saying, this fellow began to build and was not able to finish. Jesus was saying, if you want to build a tower, don't just start it without working out how much it's going to cost and see if you can have enough money to complete it, because otherwise people will just laugh at you and they'll say, you began to build, we're not able to finish. And some people have done that. And around the country, there are various towers that are called follies. This one was actually completed, but it's still called a folly, probably because nobody really knows why it was built. It was built by a man called Flounders, who lived in Shropshire, and it's a straight tower, 80 feet high. There are various theories. Some people think that Flounders was a very generous man, and he knew that there were a lot of people who were good with building who didn't have a job. So he employed them to build the tower, which helped them with wages, and he had a tower at the end. And maybe it was at his 70th birthday, a sort of birthday present to himself. Some people wonder whether that was the case. Well, we're going to build a tower ourselves today, and it's going to look a bit like this. We're going to have various words beginning with the letter S that help us to build a tower, because we're not going to actually go out and get bricks and concrete and build a tower. But when we do something important, particularly in the school life, maybe it's an idea, a project to raise money for a particular charity. Maybe it's a new hobby that you've got the opportunity of learning. Maybe it's a new sport that you can begin to find out all about. There are all sorts of things in school, opportunities that are given, and given an opportunity, some people want to take that opportunity and have a go at it. And I commend you for that. But I think it's wise always to just sit down and think about what you're going to do before you embark on that project to raise money or that hobby or that new sport or something else that you want to do. When somebody's building a building, they don't just go and build it. They start working out how much it's going to cost, just like Jesus said. They also measure up all the foundations, the area where the building is going to go. They have all sorts of instruments these days. And they would do what we call have a survey. And I suppose that's a good word to describe how people actually start off any project. They do a survey. They think about it. How will it work out? What will it involve? If it's going to cost, how much will it cost? If it's going to raise money, maybe how much will it raise money? Is it worth the effort? And so on. Well, that's the first word beginning with S. When doing a project, when doing anything new, we perhaps stop and do a survey. But if we're going to do something like that, we have to think to ourselves, I'm going to have to give up something. I maybe won't be able to watch so much television or play as many games as I normally do or read as many books as I like reading or whatever it is, less time on my iPad. I'm going to show you later on a very famous tennis player. And I'm quite sure when he decided that he wanted to become a world-class tennis player, he knew that that was going to be practice after practice, day after day of training. He knew that he was going to have to make many, many sacrifices. And any project, anything that we want to do, if it's going to be worthwhile, it usually means sacrifices have to be made. We can't always do what perhaps other people do. Maybe there isn't so much leisure time. Sacrifices maybe have to be made. I have a friend whose daughter was really good at swimming. And when she was about 17, something like that, every morning around 5, she and her mother would get up, go to the local swimming baths, and she would have an hour to an hour and a half training, and then come home, have her breakfast, and go off to school. She was getting very close to the Olympic team when things happened and she wasn't able to go any further. But tremendous sacrifices that she made every day, and her mother, to get the training done to see if she could achieve that really high standard in swimming. A few weeks ago, for some of us, it was only last week for me, thinking about it as I prepare this talk, was the London Marathon. And of course, it wasn't quite as it usually is, with thousands of people running around the streets of London, but people all over the country were doing their bit, running around different courses to do the 26 miles. And every person that I saw on the television who was involved in that London Marathon was making a tremendous effort. I didn't see anybody dawdling along, not really trying. Everybody wanted to do that to raise the money that they had challenged themselves to do. They were making a big effort, or putting it in another way, they had a lot of spirit. They put a lot of spirit into what they were doing because that was absolutely essential for them to do that. And if we're going to do anything and achieve anything, any particular goal or road that we want to do, it means a lot of spirit, a lot of effort. Some people think, of course, that they're able to do some new project, some new idea, something new they want to do entirely on their own. And perhaps some people have got that ability and can cope, but most of us can't. Most of us like help. And certainly you need a team if you're going to be involved in any sport, whatever that sport may be, even if it's just a game like tennis where you're on your own to a certain extent, but you need coaches and you need people who are going to help you with the training, I guess. And similarly, in any project, really, you need help. Or putting it another word, you need support. You can't get very far without the help, the support of other people, whatever we want to do. We find that, of course, in the classroom, don't we? If it wasn't for the teacher and the teaching assistants or people who are there to help, when you get a bit stuck on something, you wouldn't get very far. Their support is absolutely valuable. and of course, in anything that you want to do. Helping other people helping is something that's really, really important. What's the next one? Well, I've called it strength because I think sometimes we need that inner strength, don't we? Sometimes as Christians, we need to recognize that God helps us. Other people find strength from in other ways that enable them to do the thing that they want to do and to be the person that they want to be. And strength does need to be added to our list of S words in the tower. But Jesus talked about somebody who started making a tower and then gave up. Maybe they couldn't afford to go any further, couldn't afford to buy any more materials, so they gave up. My next word, I suppose in a way it's probably easily explained by a long word, stickability, keeping going. But I thought maybe a better word would be stamina. And that's very necessary, isn't it? If we're going to keep going at anything. It would be a sad day if you said, I'm going to do this particular hobby, and after a week or two, you said, oh, I'm fed up with that. I'm not going to do that anymore. And you had achieved absolutely nothing at all, or you haven't learned any new skills, or you haven't been able to be a help to anybody else. That requires stickability, or it requires stamina. I'm quite sure most of you will be able to tell me the last word, because if all those things are done, you reach the top, you've achieved whatever you wanted to achieve, you have achieved, you're perfectly right, success. And I thought to myself, can I think of anybody who's made tremendous sacrifices, who puts every effort she possibly can into whatever she does, with a strength and an example to so many people in our country whose stamina is quite remarkable, who has been so successful, and every single person knows who she is. It's our Queen. And she has certainly been quite an amazing person in every way. I can just remember, because I was just a boy at school, her coronation and going to see that on the television. And ever since that day, all those years ago, she has reigned over our country. She's still an example to us in the way that she lives, in the way that she devotes herself to the needs of others. A tremendous role model. But I'm sure the Queen has obtained inner strength, and she's received the support of others. But in herself, there's sacrifices that she has made, stamina that she's shown, and she certainly has kept going and is keeping going right to the very end. But who was the tennis player that I mentioned? Well, of course, yes, somebody will put their hand up and say, it's Andy Murray. And what sacrifices he has made. And I'm quite sure hours and hours and hours of training, and traveled the world, which must have been so tiring. But what success, Olympic champion, Wimbledon champion, he's achieved so much. But more recently, of course, he's had injury problems, he's had operations, and he still keeps going. He's still determined to get as high as he can. Tremendous stamina. What an example to us. But he would say, I'm quite sure, without the support, particularly of his mother and now his wife and the family and a whole team of helpers, he couldn't have done what he has done. He's needed their support. But he's another one who's got to the top of the tower of success. I'm going to finish with two quotations. This man was a very famous heavyweight boxer when I was younger. He certainly was well known throughout the world. He was called Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a very proud man, perhaps a little bit arrogant, because he went around saying, I'm the greatest, nobody will ever defeat me. He certainly was very proud of his achievements and what he thought he could do. But he said this, don't count the days, make the days count. And some of you, perhaps as half term gets fairly close, are counting the days of school till it's another holiday. I don't really quite understand that. But Muhammad Ali said, well, don't do that. But every single day between now and half term, and during half term, and afterwards in the next part of the term, make every day count. And if we're planning to climb the tower of success, we can certainly seek that whatever we want to do, we make the days count, whether it's a target in class, in numeracy or in literacy or something like that, or whether it's some other goal that you set yourself. Every day can count towards that goal. Make the days count. Walt Disney had something quite important to say. He said this: if you can dream it, you can do it. And I suppose he's really thinking that most of us have dreams of what we would like to do and where we would like to go, perhaps things that we would like to be able to do. And some of us may say, no, I'll never be able to do it. But some of us may sit down and think, I'm prepared to make sacrifices with the help of others, and with me having the stamina to keep going, I'm sure I can do it. And so we would be fulfilling what Walt Disney correctly said: if you dream it, you can do it. So let's just build the tower again. And I guess there'll be hands going up all over the place. We need to sit down and think about it. Somebody's right. You need to make a survey. But whatever you're going to do, if you're going to achieve success, there's no doubt about it, you're going to have to make sacrifices. And if you do enter into anything, whatever it is, be it cross-country running, be it trying to achieve a goal with raising a certain amount of money, you certainly have to put as much spirit as you can into it. What's the next one? Well, you remember that I mentioned that you can't do it on your own. You need the help of others, and so, of course, you need support. And then, of course, inner strength. Perhaps something that some can help you with, maybe from within yourself. You gain that inner strength to do what you want to do. But keep going. Stickabilities could be there, or we could have stamina, because we need that, don't we? To keep going right to the end till we achieve what we want to achieve. And then, of course, you will all know it's success. Well, I don't know when I'm going to be able to come and speak to a whole school assembly, but I do know this, that whatever we do, whether it's an older person or a younger person, we all want to climb the tower of success. And maybe there's some guidance there as to how perhaps we can do it. Maybe we'll never be Muhammad Ali or Andy Murray or even our Queen in what they have done, but maybe we'll be able to achieve our own goals and our own success and reach the top of our tower.